Greetings.
Hello.
My greeting. Well met.
I greet you.
Greetings, traveler.
Greetings, friend.
The pleasure is mine.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 108 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. My name is Kenny, and I go by KCCO Gamer. And joining us from Gadgetzan, New York, we have Ridiculous Hat.
Oh, hey, that's me.
And from Carazon, California, we have Vodicus.
Hey everyone.
All right, it's the three amigos. I like it.
I wish you had told me that. I would have had a clip.
Yeah. Well, we didn't exactly know. We were trying to get Cora on here last minute, and she's got a lot on her plate. She's trying to juggle three things right now, so yeah. But I'm super happy right now because the Dodgers just pulled ahead, so
Woohoo,
go
the
Dodgers. Us here in California. So I
Yes.
guess that means I'm in Karazhan too then, no?
Well, despite us both being in California, California is a very large state.
Yes.
And so we are, even though we're both even considered in Southern California, we're multiple hours away from each other.
There you go.
But my grandma's going to be happy if the Dodgers win. So
Oh yeah.
therefore I would be happy too.
So enough baseball talk. Sorry to get a sidetrack, but I'm happy about that. Yeah, super busy. I'm trying to relax by just watching the game on the side. I've started. I'm gonna go into my ladder here just because I try and get that in while I can. So I'm actually at rank 3, and in Wild, I shot up with Zulok all the way to rank 3, and I kept going. I think it was Monday. And then I just tanked to rank 4 and switched back over to Rogue to get back up to, I think, rank 3 stars. So pretty sure I can do it before the end of the month. I'll probably play some more while watching the games. But yeah. Yeah.
You can
I don't
do
know
it.
what else.
I
can do it.
believe.
I think I may try and do Rogue till the till Legend.
Yeah.
Oh, and shout out.
Rogue is
Shout
real
out.
strong right now.
I'll save my shout out for there. Okay. But yeah, I didn't mean to jump into ladder here real quick, but I did want to mention Concede is supported in a large part by you. If you'd like to find out how you can support us and receive rewards, which we're going to do raffle later, yeah, head over to patreon.com/CoinConcede. Once you pay, then you're eligible for the raffle once a month. So we'll get that done after we talk about our ladder a little bit. Hat, what about you? I know I've been following or seeing you go through this week, so catch us up.
Okay. Laddering time is, of course, this time of year, especially because BlizzCon is in a week. Like, by the time you listen to this show, it'll be under a week, and my body is not ready, and my mind is for sure not ready. But prepping for that, and today was my last day at work. I'm off for 2 weeks, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's going to be good, and I'll spend the next weekend.
I'm jealous.
You should be, because the next weekend before BlizzCon, I have to take a pre-vacation vacation, and I'll be in the Dominican Republic for the weekend, sipping mojitos in the cabana. So,
Ooh.
yeah. So, be aware that I will be in an excellent mood going into BlizzCon. But that means it's been tough to find the time to kind of catch up and play as many games as I want. So, on stream, I was tired of playing Priest for 6 weeks, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to play Zoo. And then, of course, I queue into 80% Priest. So, that was kind of rough. It's, you don't really want to play Zoo, especially without Gul'dan, which the new list going around, they've been cutting Gul'dan to be a little bit lower to the ground, more efficient. But that's pretty rough against a deck that's basically mono board clear. So I switched to Dragon Priest with Inner Fire and Divine Spirit, which is Mitsuhide's list, and that was super duper fun and really good and beats the tar out of Rizaka's Priest and Jade Druid. You don't want to play against Pirate Warrior. You don't want to play against Murloc Paladin or Shaman or really any deck that's aggressive. But if they're slow, then yeah, you're in a good place. And then after that, I got high roll by Rizaka's Priest, and I said, you know what, I'm going back to this. So I found Orange's list that cut Pint Size Horror and instead plays Cabal, Talon Priest, and Gnomish Inventor, and I'm back to that. I'm knocking on the door to rank 2, hoping to squeeze in a Legend push by the end of the month. But
I
we'll see
know.
what happens.
Trying to get that in before BlizzCon because I'm starting to prep for that too. Although next week I'm fully expecting to have this like lull before the big old bubble of news at BlizzCon, so may have somewhat time to get that in. Plus, I have a little bit of a vacation next week too. I have Monday, Tuesday off. I go to work Wednesday, and then I have Thursday, Friday off. So should be nice. So Bonikus, what about you?
So I've been playing a lot. And since I had hit Legend in Standard so quickly, I decided to make a push for Double Legend for the first time. And this Sunday, I finally got there. I say finally, which is kind of funny because it took about the same amount of time, but it felt like so much longer to get there. I basically played Pirate Warrior a lot and had a really good win rate with it. But then once I got to the higher ranks of, rank 2, rank 1, it felt like it was just the worst, definitely the worst aggro deck. And so I was having some issues, and I had messed around with Giants Hunter for a little while. And I found out that Giants Hunter is not very good against aggro if you don't build it right. So I basically put in a ton of anti-aggro cards, and when I was rank 1 and was a little tired of Pirate Warrior, I kind of just jammed Giants Hunter and finally got there on Sunday. So I was pretty excited to hit Double Legend for the first time, and now I can go back to my true joy, which is actually Standard. So happy that it's over with, but happy that I also accomplished that.
So give us a little bit of background, because I know that some people feel like they have to have a lot of wild cards to be able to be successful in wild. How did you feel playing in wild and getting to Legend?
So me and wild didn't really get along that well. You do see some wild cards, but a lot of the decks that are popular now are pretty much just standard decks, and you take out the worst cards in the standard versions and put in the busted cards from wild, with the exception of like the Giants Hunter list, because obviously the crux of the deck, Naga Sea Witch, isn't in that deck. But like the Razakus Priest deck, basically you just kind of add Reno and you switch out the Velen Mind Blast combo for Spawn of Shadows, I think it is. It's like a 4 mana 5/4 that whenever you hero power, you deal 4 damage to both people, and it's just a much cleaner kill.
It is.
But there's a lot of Tempo Rogue, a lot of Razakus Priest, and then a decent number of like Big Priest and Dude Paladin. I kind of equate Wild is very similar to me to Modern and Magic the Gathering, where, in my opinion, even though like the Modern format in Magic is super wide open and there's a ton of decks, it really feels like a lot of the games are basically decided by turn 3. Not all of them, but a very good percentage of them are just kind of over on turn 3, or you know who's going to win on turn 3. And as we'll talk about later, I like games that you have a few more decisions that matter. The cards don't just kind of overpower the game, which obviously there's play to wild. You can get some edges here and there, but I just prefer Standard.
Yeah, my experience in wild lately, and that's why I switched over to Rogue, was because I feel playing Zoo, I'm just tapping so much and losing health. It's hard to come back against the control decks, especially Priest. But so you have to kind of get a good start in order to beat Priest.
Yep.
And yeah, so I feel like I don't have to sacrifice as much health by playing Tempo Rogue, and it's still a really good ramp up. So
yeah, with Giants Hunter against Priest, it's pretty straightforward. You just make sure you always have the coin, and then you play Naga Sea Witch on turn 4 with the coin, play 2 Giants, and then they don't have enough mana to light bomb you, and then you play Lotheb on turn 5 and they can't win. And that's pretty much how all my games against Priest went. And if you don't have the coin, then it can be harder because they coin light bomb you. But you can still sometimes win those games. I don't know. The deck I played against the most was Priest, and I think Giants Hunter is really solid choice against Priest.
It is a pretty solid deck choice between the different Giants decks. Although I played against a Warlock Giants deck that was pretty good.
Yeah, I think Warlock Giants is probably more powerful, but the reason why I like Hunter is just the consistency you get with tracking and
Tracker.
And Tracker are like, it's very rare that you won't have, or it felt very rare that I didn't have a Naga Sea Witch on turn 5 in like 90% of my games. You didn't always have like good giants to go with it, but it just felt like the amount of selection you have in a deck like that it's kind of scary how consistent it is, but there are answers to it. Aggro is generally pretty good against it. I mean, I basically have the Giants package in, and then all of the anti-aggro cards I can put in to have a shot against them. And I just kind of farm Priest and then try to go 50-50 against the aggro decks. And I was successful, so pretty happy about it.
I think my favorite part of what you just said within the last couple minutes here is just all you have to do is make sure you get the coin.
It's so funny how important the coin seems to be in Wild. Even when I was playing Pirate Warrior, having coin, the games, you can just have these swing turns super early with like ships, cannon, coin, pirate that are just like really hard for your opponents to deal with. It feels like it's almost better to have the coin in Wild most of the time.
It's interesting how you feel like you could play different decks. It's different decks have better win rates in different parts of the ladder. So
definitely.
Yeah.
It's interesting that like it kind of makes sense the coin is so much better because the average power level of a card is so much higher, and it's kind of what you're talking about is kind of the inertia, the momentum of the game gets established so much earlier because the 1 and 2 drops are so much more powerful, and so having the coin the coin on turn 1 is double your mana. The coin on turn 2 is still you increase your mana by 50%. It's still like a big increase in mana relative to your position in the game, and the cards are so much more individually powerful that you just kind of set up this momentum that's harder and harder to move back. I think what struck me the most about what you're saying is you said that life tap isn't good enough against control decks because they establish the board too quickly. Like, what's happening with Hearthstone? It's remember back when life tap meant you draw Dr. Boom after they clear your board and then you kill them, or like you would get the Void Caller into the Mal'Ganis, or they wouldn't be able to keep up with the amount of card advantage. But now even the control decks are so refined. And I think the understanding of Hearthstone is just further along than it was a couple of years ago. That sheer card advantage by itself isn't enough anymore.
True.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Point. It's pretty funny that like Dr. Boom used to be this card that was in so many decks and it was so good, and you can still play it in Wild, but every time I saw one, like the game was already over before they played it. It didn't really change the course of how the game was going when they played the Dr. Boom. It was kind of just like, oh hey, here's one of my 20 different threats I could be playing right now, and the fact that I'm not dead yet means that you can't deal with this, and it could have pretty much been anything there. I mean, the format just has so many powerful cards.
Well, and Dr. Boom isn't good anymore after BGH got nerfed, right? Like, because back when Dr. Boom was around, if you didn't have Big Game Hunter, you lost to Dr. Boom, and now Big Game Hunter is barely playable, and it still doesn't matter because bigger things come out faster, and there are better answers to them.
It's almost too slow.
Yeah, well, BGH is definitely
too slow.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah.
Well,
both cards feel too slow.
Secret Paladin feels too slow.
Oh yeah,
like that
I
deck.
didn't see any Secret Paladins.
It's not a deck anymore.
Dude Paladins and tons of Murloc Paladins.
Secret Paladin is not a deck anymore because it doesn't effectively go wide fast enough. It just plays like a decent on-curve threat all the time. But we're past the point of. I think if we look back at that meta in Hearthstone, that's like a time capsule, but
Mhm.
it doesn't really relate to what the game looks like now. And I think we were really just seeing the first point of a game in its infancy reaching a critical mass of card power. But now I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where playing threats on curve is going to be good enough again. Like I just don't really know
Yeah, that's a good point.
if it'll ever be just like 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, 4 drop, 5 drop, 6 drop. The game is over. Maybe in standard after rotation. Not while MSG is around, but maybe after MSG rotates out. But it's definitely a different world than I remember being a part of when I was first playing standard or pre-rotation standard.
That's the thing is like standard kind of ebbs and flows with the coming and passing of cards, whereas wild kind of just keeps getting stronger and stronger, and synergies I think start to matter more and more just because you have so many more tools to work with. That like Dr. Boom is just a powerful card, but it doesn't really synergize with anything. Whereas every 1 and 2 mana pirate they print from now until eternity is just going to make change the tools that Pirate Warrior can use, or every giant they print, or card selection tool will it just kind of the synergy cards tend to go up a lot in value in wild just because you have more to work with.
Well, same thing with control with the different answers. I mean, like Priest has Light Bomb in wild, so Light Bomb, and then all their other board clears, which they have. It's like, wow, there's so many answers with different cards, and you can have one of each because you have so many. So it
and they all do like a similar thing. That's why the Reno decks just keep getting better and better, because if you have it doesn't matter if you have all one of cards. If you have 2 cards that do effectively the same thing, it's like you're running 2 copies, but you get all these benefits of these super powerful cards that require you to only have one ofs in your deck.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and there's a couple of things we want to get to before we get to the news. So our pledges this week, we have Angel Zero Morte. Thank you so much, and the Happy Hearthstone pledge this week as well. So thank you for your support of our show. We do appreciate it. So
we're really excited.
All right. We are. Thank you.
And I'm still really excited about this soundboard.
Do you have one for a raffle?
Give me a second. I'll get one. Go ahead.
All right. So we're going to do the raffle. This is for a $20 gift card for Hearthstone. This is for all of our patrons, $5 and more. I have a list of people. What I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and I have a random number generator. So between 1 and 64. And then I'll have to probably take some time to count out whatever number it is. There's a lot of numbers, so it may take a while to count out. So I'll let Hat play a little audio while I count afterwards. So do we have a raffle one? No?
All right, I got it. All right, I got a drum roll.
All right, and we have one, but it's a high number. We have 55, so let me count out 55. One moment.
Should I drum roll again?
Drum roll again. No, play the audio for Con Before the Storm. Let me count while I do that.
Okay, so Kenny's going to count for a second, but while he does that, there's something else you can count on. You can count on all 3 of us to be at Con Before the Storm.
Woo!
I think that counts as a pun, right?
Waka 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 waka. Hey, waka waka.
Fozzie the Bear's the best. All right, so we'll be at Con Before the Storm. Con Before the Storm is the free convention thrown by World of Podcasts. The night before BlizzCon. It's Thursday night at the Hilton at BlizzCon. Free for all. Feel free to join us. We've got a little bumper here that we want to play for you.
The storm, known as BlizzCon, is almost upon us, and that means once again it's time for podcasters, community personalities, and fans to come together for one of the largest gatherings created by fans for fans. It's Con Before the Storm, featuring the 5th annual World of Podcast. It's shaping up to be our largest World of Podcasts yet, with participants from over 50 podcasts and additional content being produced before and after the big party at the Anaheim Hilton on November 2nd. Even if you can't join us in Anaheim, we do invite you to check out the shows on Alpha Geek Radio or at twitch.tv/ConBeforeStorm. Can't listen to us live? We have you covered with podcast versions of our content available for download on demand via our World of Podcast show feed on Google Music and Apple Podcasts. For complete information, show schedule, and much, much more, be sure to check out ConBeforeStorm.com, and also don't forget to follow us on Twitter at ConBeforeStorm and at World of Podcasts.
All right, we have our winner. I actually did a little bit more research here because I have their name on the list of patrons. This is actually Starlax. So Starlax, congratulations.
Woo!
Woo!
I thought you were going to play another board.
I got to keep you on your toes. I can't just keep playing bumpers all the time.
Oh, come on. All right, well, let's skip that one, and then let's head into the news then. All right, so we have a couple of things we're going to talk about this week. First part we're going to mention is Blizzard's BattleNet beta is now live, so you can create your own social network. We're working on ours after the show here because I wanted to get some input from everybody. We're still debating on how accessible we're going to make it. Because it's a voice chat, we may. I don't know if we'll do it just patrons. We'll keep you informed. I don't know.
The thing is Discord. We use Discord so much, and we really like that program. So we don't want to divide us too much by doing a whole lot over there and over here. We'd like to kind of just have a centralized location for everything, I think.
It would be more like just to hang out and play games together and, listener league and stuff like that. So, well, let me go over some of the other things. So part of this, if you go to social, you can create your own icon for it as well. You can gift people things, which we may skip me having to go to the store to buy these gift cards and actually go and just gift people from now on. So that'll save me a trip. And new avatars. You can peer offline, even though you're playing. I guess with certain games, it may not be as intuitive, but or not intuitive, but I guess it will still show you in game. I don't know which ones those are, but try it out if you don't want to be bothered and you're like just relaxing, playing some games, some b-ball outside of school.
I mean, it's nice if you're like sneaking in a game at work and someone tries to chat with you in client, and you're like, "It's in landscape.
Yeah.
I can't talk right now." It's just nice to be able to like control the mechanism of your social interactions in the game, because all the Blizzard games are inherently very social, but sometimes we all need a minute.
Yeah.
Just nice to be able to take a minute.
You guys have got that started. What do you think of it so far?
Playing offline? Or like appearing offline?
Their update, their beta update for their whether it's their social or what you're using. I saw you edited your own icons at least.
Oh yeah.
I'm Sylvanas.
I've actually got a bunch of questions about editing the icon, asking how to get it, and just tell them to do the beta thing. And I think I also saw something about. Did you guys see something about like a reporting feature now? Like you can report people. So if somebody like adds you saltily after you beat them in a game, I think you can go in now into the social tab and you might be able to report them from there. And I remember some people were talking in Discord about it, but I didn't have a whole lot of time to check it out for myself.
There's
True.
You can kind of report people through the BattleNet client. It's Blizzard. We should probably touch on this because Blizzard needs to work on the transparency of their reporting feature, because it seems like in most of their clients, maybe Overwatch a little bit more visible. Unfortunately, that game needs a little bit more. But in a lot of their games, it's harder to figure out how to do this, and it shouldn't be so difficult to report someone for an offensive screen name or unpleasant post-match conversation in Hearthstone, which is a very common thing. I've been called all sorts of slurs that A, don't apply to me, and B, weren't warranted. Blizzard doesn't really have a good way to report people that are currently your friend, like that are not your friends. I'm in the Battle.net client right now. I just right click someone. There is a report feature, and when someone adds you, you can right click and do report. So it does look like that it's built into the Battle.net client. It's not in the Hearthstone client. So you have to actually be in the BNet client. I don't believe you can do it on mobile. You have to be like maybe in the Battle.net app. You can do it, but it still seems pretty limited in what you can do. Now, I have been fortunate enough to not have to report anyone, but I don't know. I feel like there should be an easier way to
Let me
just notify people when there's something going on.
let me jump in here because Smiley Chris actually quoted them here in our channel. So she got as part of the main part of the response. They said, we do thank you for your report about the situation, and we're currently looking into ways for players to report poor battle tags in Hearthstone. We do attempt to take actions against these players when they are reported. Sadly, with Hearthstone, it is rather difficult for us to track these players down. We do wish that such features can be implemented soon so we can clean up any inappropriate names that may exist in our games. Your request has been long, has to be logged upwards and to our developers. That was a weird sentence. Hopefully the ability to report poor battle tags can be implemented soon. So she was mentioning that you could either screen print and get it to on Twitter at Blizzard CS, or you could go through the opening a ticket. Just find the way to submit a ticket that doesn't refer you to going to a forum. And that's the best thing they have. If you have a chance of getting their battle tag, like say that they add you and you're friends temporarily and they start going off, get the numbers after their name because that'll help them figure out who it is. So yeah, screen print when you can, especially, and we've been talking about this in chat, if your battle tag is anything related to, if you're Debbie 1919 or something, you may get some ads and some crazy stuff. So I feel bad, and I'm glad that it's been brought up in our new channel here under Serious Talk, because it is something that I think all of us, even if you're not a woman or female, either one, if you're a man and you're getting some kind of interaction that shouldn't be appropriate. Just think of it like I don't want my kid to be seeing this if they were playing, or if you don't have kids, you wouldn't say this to your mother. Whatever it is, like if you don't think it's right, go ahead and report it. I think it's the best thing to do, and the way we can kind of make strides. So.
Yeah, I think it's important that we're so lucky to have such a positive community, and we have a lot of people trudging forward to try to make the greater community more positive. So. Yeah, all the more steps the Blizzard takes to let us report these things, I think the better, definitely.
And I think the more of us hop on the bandwagon with this, maybe they'll start thinking, okay, this is a much serious thing than we thought. So hopefully, us bringing it up on the podcast can make it a little bit more brought to light, so we can be on top of it. All right, so that's the beta. Also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Team 5 actually gifted us a pack. So as part of the beta feature, you have an option to gift others, and they gifted us a classic pack. So it expires before the 31st of December this year. So just go ahead and claim it. I think we posted it in our Discord as far as how to go do that. Most of us have probably already received it. If you have any questions, feel free and ask.
Free stuff.
Yeah, there was a ton of free stuff this week. Like I got the free pack from this, 2 packs for Hallows Eve, and then I think 1 pack for my champion because I picked poorly. Yeah,
because
3
you picked.
packs. Oh yeah,
must be nice.
Yeah, you picked.
Purple.
So you
Purple is real good.
It's my favorite color and one of my top Hearthstone players.
Yeah. I guess there's no orange. Orange is the closest to legendary, I guess.
Orange is orange also got further in the tournament.
Yeah. Alrighty. So next part here, there's the Hearthstone Inn-vitational that's announced now, and I'm gonna have Hat. You want to talk about this a little bit? I think you know a little bit more and had a chance to check it out more than I did. I could be wrong.
Well, if you think that I know more about it, then you are mistaken, but I will talk about it anyways. Because I am reading about this right now off the website. I know we had talked about it, and BlizzCon, I think there was a lot of feedback in the community. I know that one of the reasons that I really wanted to go, besides meeting a bunch of awesome people and hanging out kind of before the storm, etc., was to see some live Hearthstone. And watching live Hearthstone is like live sporting events. It's a similar kind of energy in seeing what happens. And I watch a lot of Hearthstone tournaments at home. So when they said BlizzCon was going to be separated from the HCT, it seemed like it didn't make a lot of sense. But now it makes more sense. And this is an exhibition exhibition match more than anything else, right? It's watching people play that are popular streamers. It's not meant to be hyper competitive. It's meant to be, popular streamers playing against each other. So it looks like there are 4 different teams. The Jungle Giants are Kripparrian, Firebat, and Jackie Chan. The Big Time Buccaneers are Disguised Toast, Ant, and Alistraza. The Grime Street Grifters are Reynad, Kranich, and Pathra. And the Chillblade Crusaders are Dog, RDU, and Navi Oot. So they got a pretty decent representation from multiple different regions. Still a pretty high NA bias. But they've got, Jackie Chan, RDU is from EU. I think Oot. Is Australia an Asia server? I think it's Asia server.
Yeah.
Pathra and Kranich are from Asia. And then a good amount of NA players, but, Crip is definitely a streamer more than a pro, though I guess he's more of a professional Hearthstone personality and player than most other people on this list. Reynad, it has tournament chops, but is definitely more of a team owner and streamer at this point. Disguised Toast, etc. These are definitely more media personalities, and some of them happen to be real good at Hearthstone, and some of them a little bit less prolifically tournament present, but more so they just play a lot on the internet. So pretty cool that this will be happening. I am definitely going to be watching it and checking it out and reporting in. So if you are at BlizzCon, this is kind of what I expect we'll be doing when they're not announcing new cards and new sets and so on and so forth.
I actually, to be honest, I'm glad this gets more play in. I like it being separate from the actual World Championships, and I think it being at BlizzCon is a better show
A fight!
all together for how everything is. So wild, standard, I think it's a better picture for everyone to see this, and especially those that have the virtual ticket, they'll still get to see it. So yeah, and also, I think you should be proud of Blizzard. They're digging the puns. They love the puns.
Yes, they love the puns.
Invitational.
They do. And I'm sorry for everyone that was listening. I accidentally did a Grim Patron bumper, but I'm gonna stop doing that. I was trying to.
You just want everyone to get in here.
I do want everyone to get in here. It's a true statement. And if you're at BlizzCon, I hope you get in here.
Did you get the virtual ticket, Bodikus? Because I know you're not going to.
I haven't got it yet. I'm kind of waiting to see what the legendary card is, since I don't really play much of the other Blizzard games.
Is there a deadline for that?
I don't know. I should probably find that out, though.
Yeah. I wouldn't want you to miss out. All right. All right. So the next item on the list here. So there have been a lot of people talking about the trials and tribulations, should we say, of the new Warlock hero, Nemzi, and what the requirements are to get it, or get her as the hero. Again, I haven't really been a part of this, so Bodikus, you want to talk a little bit about what people have been coming across?
I guess
how Blizzard is answering it?
What's been happening is there's been a lot of fake firesides being put up on the website, and some people kind of getting tricked, I guess, into going to places to try to get this Nemzi Warlock skin and having it not be a legit event, or there's kind of just a bunch of weird stuff going around. A lot of people, I guess, are spoofing their locations to go to these the actual tavern ones where you can get Nimsy. So like I heard at DreamHack they had a fireside gathering there where you could get Nimsy, and the client said there was over 1,000 people there, and the room definitely could not fit 1,000 people. So yeah, just kind of some funky stuff going on with it. I think they made a post showing how exactly to get the Nemsy skin and what you need to be actually looking for, because you can't just go. We've talked about this before, but you can't just go to any fireside gathering. It has to be an established tavern, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have about all of that goings on.
Yeah, and I hope a lot of us are in the know. I think most people that listen to podcasts and our community will kind of catch on to this. It's just unfortunate those that may not know or don't know what to expect. This is their first experience. It's not the great experience to go and find out that this stuff like this is happening. So I feel bad for the people that are kind of reaping from this.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and there were a bunch of other issues too. I mean, it's the whole thing. First of all, on the website, there's a button that says Get Nemsy. And when you click it, you go to a list of every fireside gathering. Most of those are not established. Not super clear. The article on how to get Nemsy says go to a fireside, get Nemsy. That's the title of it. It says inside the article, you have to go to an established fireside, and it goes on and gives you the stipulations. But that's not what the title says. And assuming that people are going to read, as I've learned in my time in customer service for the past decade, unrealistic. And in
Yeah.
addition to that, there were a ton of reports on Reddit of it not working. You would go to an established fireside. There were people that were there that knew what they were doing, and sometimes you would do the fireside brawl and it just wouldn't trigger. There were talks about 50, 60, 70 people at a fireside, and they were 3 people in the entire group that were able to get Nemsy at the end of the day. It's disheartening. And I like the intention that Blizzard puts behind it, but because of the impression people are going to have of this event and the way that it was done and the nature of people's comprehension of how this went down, it looks bad for Blizzard, which means people are going to be less likely to go for a fireside-specific reward because it was so rocky at the beginning. And Blizzard's been pretty good about implementing new things from a technical standpoint most of the time. I think the servers haven't really crashed much for the last 2 or 3 major expansions, but for adding this new thing and this new functionality, it's unfortunate that it didn't really stand up to a stress test or a comprehension test, but I think there were lots of ways Blizzard could have made it easier to understand for the people getting into it, both for the people running them and for the people getting into it that were going to just earn the avatar.
Well, so I feel like I'm kind of torn here. I think it's a learning experience on both ends. Let's just say that.
I think it feels like they didn't give enough time. And I'm pretty sure the Nemsy promotion goes on past this Hollow's End event. They kind of started it with that whole thing in mind, but they didn't give a whole lot of time for people to like establish their taverns. So everybody was kind of in a rush to try to get that done. Where I think if people had a little bit more time to prepare, things might have gone a little more smoothly. But
that's the hard part, I feel like. But me as a person, if I was really, I figure most people that are going to be doing this, they're going to be traveling to go there. If I'm going to get in my car and travel to go to this place, I'm going to figure out exactly what would need to happen, make sure that everything is happening. That's just me. So, and again, I'm not really, I don't know. I don't want to get too into news, like real news, fake news or whatever. There's a lot of clickbait out there, and I feel like people should learn from the real world that you want to read more than just the headline. So.
I'm not disagreeing that people should. There should be an effort.
There's more to it.
There should be an effort to dig into. Assume that not everything is what you see at face value, but there also needs to be assumption that if Blizzard is making a game meant to be played on their phone that's meant for a casual audience, they're going to get casual engagement with a lot of these things because that's the nature of their game. It's not like someone sat down and paid $60. This is not Destiny 2. You're not sitting down to your computer or your whatever game console you're playing it on and expecting to need to do research to figure out what's going on. This isn't even World of Warcraft where if you don't go on Wowhead or Icy Veins and dig into a rotation guide, you're not going to know what's going on. This is a casual game that's free to play that you can download on your phone. And then if someone says, hey, you can go to this place on this day and play with other people and get a free thing, people are going to go there and get it. It's the nature of how this game interacts with this audience. I think Blizzard needs to have a read that maybe this particular game make it a little bit more obvious, a little bit more forgiving, and a little bit more clear up front, as opposed to the other games which have frightening layers of depth and lots of player-driven resources around them.
That's why I feel it again. It's and just to sum it all up, I feel like there was a learning curve on both ends, like things to be learned from the player and from Blizzard's side. So I don't want to talk about it too much, but I feel like we covered it. Let's move on to Arena. Let's not talk about my 1 and 3 Arena run, but how'd you guys do?
Have you done yours yet, Hap?
I will explain mine in one clip. If I didn't mute it. I had a...
Thanks for the Destiny dig, by the way.
I mean, I had to say it right. So, this is my Arena run.
Do not fear power. Fear those who wield it.
For those who don't know, that's Frostlich Jaina. And Frostlich Jaina is an incredibly powerful arena card. Now, if you want to know how to make Frostlich Jaina better, you take a little rogue deck, and then you put a little mage in it. And then you take an ethereal peddler, and you make Jaina cost 7. And then you play a 7 mana Frostlich Jaina, and then your opponent suddenly disconnects. That's been my experience a couple times. The other experience where my opponent, for some reason, didn't disconnect was turn 6 Mimic Pod, turn 7 Firelands Portal, turn 8 Firelands Portal, turn 9 Frostlich Jaina. Didn't disconnect for some reason. Don't know why. I'm currently 4-0 with that run, by the way. I've explained all 3 games, the 3 of the 4 games. So, yeah, it's been pleasant.
Yeah, very interesting having both, and I think it's pretty cool to have multiple classes within. I think I may want to. It's just so close to hearing about what's coming up next. I can't go and spend my gold for arena runs. So I'm hoping the event lasts longer and I have a better run next time. I think that they're doing it per week, right?
Yeah, I think you get 1 run per week.
Yeah, it's what, 2 weeks? Well, and they're forced retiring arena decks. So
yeah,
if you have an arena deck that's active and you only want to play a couple of games, finish the run. Because if you don't finish the run, Blizzard will finish it for you. Now, if they retire a run for you, they will give you a new ticket. That's what happened to me this week. So if you have a mediocre arena run, I think the play is get it to 2 losses and then sit on it. Because then you still get the rewards, right?
That's actually the play anyway, because you still get the rewards regardless. So like that's what I did is for my arena run is I just had one already going that wasn't very good. And I just I got to 2 losses and let it carry over yesterday. And then it gave me the rewards still, and then also a free arena ticket. So, yeah, I guess we'll go over. I did 2 arena runs yesterday because I had the free ticket they give you and the one from the retired run that I had. And the first one I queued up, I had the choice between Hunter, Shaman, and Warrior, which I think are probably the 3 worst classes in Arena. But I chose Warrior because I was like, oh, I can choose Warrior and then get a really nice hero power. And since I played so much Pirate, Warrior, and Wild, I got to choose the Hunter hero power, which Warrior with Hunter hero power is pretty good, especially when everybody is trying to choose the Warlock hero power. Steady Shot becomes some good when you can aggro some people out. And so my first run, I went like 7-3. I started off 0-2 and then just rattled off 7 and then finally lost. I thought the deck was pretty mediocre. It had a lot of 3-drops. But then my second deck, I got to pick Druid, and then also got the Hunter Hero Power again, because I guess I just really like the Hunter Hero Power. And that deck had a lot of very cheap spells and 2 ultimate infestations. And that card is pretty good. It's a little bit better when you get to Blood Bloom Ultimate Infestation on turn 1, which I saw on a Maz's stream, and the reaction was hilarious. But turns out still turn 10 Ultimate Infestation, still really good. And the only games I lost, I think I went 8-3 with that run. And the games I lost were 2 of them I did not draw Ultimate Infestation in my top 20 cards. And the other one, I cast both Ultimate Infestations, but it was to stay alive. I actually needed the armor more than anything else. And then I got down to 1 card left in my library. My opponent cast Thought Steal. My last card was a Spreading Plague, and I had 7 creatures on board, and 35 butt is a lot of butt.
That's so much butt. The butt per mana crystal is off the charts.
Even 9 mana for 35 butt, I think he would take that.
It's. I mean, there is no price I would not pay for that much butt.
I haven't done some research here, but I'm curious to see if the big time arena players are doing better or worse with the combination. Like if it just throws them off because they don't know how to.
I have to assume that they're doing better, because when you have these like special arena events, it generally gets people in that don't play arena as often. So even though it's way different, you have all these arena players that already know which arena cards are good, and kind of all these other players that are picking cards like Cabal Crystal Runner. When they don't have any, they're just not going to get a lot of secrets in their deck, and that card is not very good in arena unless you have a lot of secrets. Like these very tournament playable cards become not quite as good in arena, with the exception of like Ultimate Infestation and Bone Mare.
Cool. It's fun. I want to play some more of it, so I hope they keep it up going.
Yeah, I'm gonna be running with my Rage deck when we're done with this cast. Nice. Rogue and Mage, it's Rage.
Nice.
It makes sense, right?
I played a Rogue Mage deck, and it was just a bad deck. I couldn't get anything to work, and then 2 of my games didn't go well. The third one was my fault, but that happens. All right, let's go ahead and go into our next segment. Let's go into our tournament results.
It's the Grand Tournament!
So we had a couple big tournaments this weekend. We had the October Brawl Finals. I wasn't able to catch much of this, but what I gather from it is that Team Void was the winner, which was the card back I was rocking. I was pretty happy about that. I guess they had, what did they call them? Sabotages. That for every week they won, they got to sabotage one of the players. So since Team Void had won 3 of the weeks, they got to do 1 sabotage on each of their on each of the Team Light players, and then they lost one of the weeks. So Dog's sabotage he had to deal with, I guess he was dressed up like a Murloc. And then for the Team Light, I believe Reynad had to wear some big gloves or something, and Disguised Toast, who was filling in for Kriparian, had to play all of his turns in under 30 seconds. and Alistraza had to make up an emote every time she did something, I believe.
Huh.
But yeah, did you guys weren't able to catch any of this, did you?
No, unfortunately. I may go back and check some of it out though. I'm interested.
Yeah, I really liked the whole idea of the October Brawl October Brawl. I don't know that starting with Wild was the best option for them, because when they started the whole event, they started with building Wild decks, and it kind of felt like it might have been better to work from Standard and work bigger instead of working with the biggest format and then culminating in this. But I like the idea. Hopefully next time they do something like this, they can execute it better and get even more viewership.
Cool.
So the other big event that I paid attention a lot more to was DreamHack Denver. And I have some of the results here. In the quarterfinals, Ike goes 3-1 over Muzzy. Hot Meowth falls 1-3 to Rosty. Shoop loses a close one, 2-3 to Dr. Jikaninki, and Cap9 loses to Monsanto 1-3. And then onto the semis, Ike 3-0s Rosty, and Dr. J goes 3-1 over Monsanto, which leads to the finals, where Ike is able to have an undefeated record, beating Dr. J in the finals, who had he won, would have been his second DreamHack win and the first person to ever do so, but falls just short. Ike had a crazy tournament, went undefeated in the whole tournament. I have in our show notes a link to the deck lists. Just going over a couple of the decks here from the top 4. Ike was running a Freezish Mage deck that's a little different than your typical Freeze Mage. I think they were calling it Good Mage, which is very similar to like the Gunther Mage from a few seasons ago. He also had Jade Druid, Razakis Priest, and what I call King Tempo Rogue, which is basically Tempo Rogue with the Lich King in it, which is an interesting addition. And all of these top 4 guys basically had very similar lineups with kind of one funky deck, which seems to be fairly consistent. So Dr. J was running Jade Druid, Razakis Priest, Tempo Rogue, and Zulok. Rosty had Jade Druid, Razakis Priest, Control Warlock, and Secret Mage. And then Monsanto was running a Jade Druid, Razakis Priest, Control Warrior, and Elemental Rogue. So what of these decks do you guys, or these lineups do you guys like?
King Tempo seems interesting. I didn't get a chance to see it, but
yeah, Rogue was really dominant over the whole weekend. It had a lot of sweeps. It was a very very potent deck. I believe a lot of the people who were actually banning Rogue were having success in the tournament.
I'm really glad to see Burn Mage back, because I was playing Burn Mage a ton in the Ungoro meta, and I didn't really figure out why people stopped playing it. I know people stopped playing it, and it really receded in representation. I wondered if some of that was due to Jade Druid. I never feel like Jade Druid was a really terrible matchup, though, because they kept cutting Earthen Scales. Because I played Burn Mage for months before the rotation. I got my Golden Mage. That was, I think, my ETH class that I got Golden. It's with Burn Mage for months, and it's the hybrid Burn Mage from right at the end of the season, barely changed. It's got the Mana Worms, the Doomsayers, the Frost Novas, Alexstrasza, Medivh, all the cards you know and love from the previous expansion. It's almost the same and still really, really powerful, especially in the meta as it's developed. You just are able to generate a ton of damage. Now, I think Ike was playing Antonidas. No, he wasn't even playing Antonidas. This is just good old burn mage. It feels very similar to the set from the previous expansion. Now, I
I
do
don't
think
have the list up. Does he doesn't have Doomsayers, right?
he
Is
does.
that
He has Doomsayers, Novas,
it
and
does?
Blizzards.
Okay. Hmm.
Yep. So there was that hybrid freeze deck that was right after Gunther Mage kind of evolved a bit, and there were various different configurations of freezes and AoEs. And this build does not have Volcanic Potion, which was kind of a hallmark of the last set.
Okay.
But you don't really need it as much anymore because I think that going wide is a trap in this meta because of Spreading Plague, because of Akanai Circle, because of Dragonfire Potion. There are so many ways that going wide quickly, if your board is not big enough, that Volcanic Potion punishes the decks that are vulnerable and doesn't punish the decks that are less vulnerable. Like Zoo might seem vulnerable, but it really isn't because that deck goes bigger now than it ever used to. And Tempo Rogue also, it's not really an aggro deck, it's a tempo deck, and you play a lot of mid-range minions that get real big real fast. So either way, Firelands Portal, I played against it. If you have that Cobalt Scalebane, Firelands Portal is still a real good answer. And I was really happy to see this back. Ike said on Twitter it was his most banned deck in the top 16. His best results when he was allowed to play it. Dr. J banned it in the finals and nearly got swept by J Druid. It was real close. We'll get to the finals in a bit, but when you have to ban Mage and leave up your opponent's Druid, Priest, and Rogue, then you know that like something is going on with this Mage. Something's going on.
Yeah.
Well, the top
Some of
four
the-
also had all Jade Druid and all Razaka's Priest, so it was just the other two that would switch out between all four. And it seems like all four had picked different two for the second. So.
Well, and most of them have Rogue. Like almost all of them have Rogue.
Yeah.
Rogue is extremely heavily represented.
Rogue is really good right now. Also, some of the other notables in the top 16, there was Astrogation, Phenom, Just Saying, and the kind of a big talking point. There was this kid that goes by MTG Kid, which surprised a lot of people because he's 12 years old, but actually didn't surprise me much because I was following the Magic the Gathering circuit quite heavily, and I believe his name's Quentin Kiefer, and the Kiefer family are a bunch of very, very good Magic the Gathering players. It's three young kids, three young brothers that kind of are already doing very well on the Magic the Gathering circuit, and so I wasn't really surprised to hear that he was doing quite well in this tournament. Actually his first major tournament and top 16. I'm expecting this won't be the first won't be the last time we see his name for sure.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stories here. I mean, we have a lot of repeat players as well. Monsanto, it's interesting that he brought this crazy N'Zoth Control Warrior, but he's known for bringing kind of little off the beaten path decks, but still really strong. It's been Just Saying has been in spitting distance of a win for as long as I can remember, but never manages to close out. Muzzy finally broke his curse of being the silver collector, but Just Saying, he top 16s with the best of them, but the cut to top 8, the cut to top 4, I don't know if the pressure gets to him, but he can never seem to finalize that last little push. Phenom, good dude from Vicious Syndicate, he's their data engineer, and what's interesting is that Phenom, along with a lot of the players, were banning Rogue. Typically in this kind of format, you want to ban the polarized decks, which are your Jade Druids and your Razaka's Priests, but there were a lot of Rogue bans in the top 16. And it's been interesting to see that people are going towards, in the LHS format, which last year was standing, for those of you that don't know, the deck that you win with, you get to keep playing, and if you lose with the deck, you can't play it anymore. So typically, if someone beats you with something, you want to have a deck you can queue in to counter it with. The thing about Tempo Rogue is it can high roll everybody, and there's no really, really good counter against it. There's no one deck that you can say, this beats Tempo Rogue every time, that's worth playing, and then if there is one that's that focused, you queue into the wrong thing, they might beat you with something else, and then you still have to deal with Tempo Rogue. So a lot of people have shifted to the strategy of ban Rogue, which was definitely unusual going into this tournament, but I think it will be much more common going out of it, and seems to be a pretty strong strategy. It looks like, let's see, I think Dr. J was actually banning Rogue for most of the tournament, whereas Ike was banning Priest.
Yeah, it seems to me like it would be much easier to build a lineup that can beat both Razaka's Priest and Jade Druid, and Rogue is just kind of on the opposite spectrum of that. So if you plan to ban Rogue, then and you have your lineup that is trying to really shoot for beating Razaka's Priest and Jade Druid, it seems like a pretty good strategy in my eyes. Obviously, Priest is a good enough deck to not really have that many bad matchups, and could still sweep you. But I think if you're, it's way harder to build a strategy that's going to beat both Jade Druid and like a tempo rogue than a strategy that beats Priest and Druid, which are both slower decks. But that's at least the way I kind of envisioned how a lot of these people might skew their lineups.
Yeah,
All right.
when I've been playing LHS, I've usually started off with Tempo Rogue, because often the strategy is start off with the deck that has the most general good matchups. And there have been a few times with Tempo Rogue that you never queue another deck, because you just play it and you 3-0 them. So it's when you have a deck with that kind of sweep potential, a lot of times it's correct to just take that out, and then you look at a deck like Jade Druid's consistent but slow, and Razaka's Priest it has its known inconsistencies. The best players there, of course, can deal with it if Raza is their last card. Go ahead and look at Surrender. But most people aren't going to be able to consistently say, if Raza and Anduin are at the bottom of my deck, I can still win the game. So I think it's reasonable to open up at least some possibility of variance also falling in your favor.
Cool. Any last comments before we move on?
That's all I had.
All right. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a shorter week, and I guess this would be a good time to, well, first of all, upcoming, we have the Inn-vitational upcoming. I'm not sure if we have anything else really big.
Well, usually the week before BlizzCon is kind of a dark period, right? Because in 2 weeks from now, we'll be post-BlizzCon. So in a week from today, we will be the 2 days before. And typically, Blizzard will announce stuff there, but that means next week is going to be kind of a slow news week and kind of a wind down from a lot of what we're seeing. So we'll cover any tournaments we have. But I think we'll talk about it a little bit more later in the show. Now is going to be a good time for you to send in your questions for the cast and any deck doctors you have, and any sort of content you want us to talk about and engage with us. Feel free to tag us in the Discord or shoot us an email. Next week is usually a little quieter, leading up into, well, it's the calm before the storm, leading up into when Blizzard will likely announce the next set and some really cool stuff at BlizzCon, and we'll have plenty to talk about the week after, and that's when we start leading into the December HCT season as well. So there will be a lot going on, and we want to make sure that we hear from you all if you have anything you want to share, because we're going to have a brief reprieve where we'll be able to best engage with your questions and comments. We actually have a couple later in the show that we're going to get to as well.
Yeah. Now is the time to get in. This is the week that'll be the most likely that we'll be able to cover whatever you're going to talk about or send in to us. So get that in. Yeah. No iTunes reviews. Stitcher's review. I thought we were going to get a Stitcher review. I checked again and we didn't get it. Someone asked for the link. But yeah. So let's go ahead and go into our deck explanations.
All right. So let's talk about escaping from the salt mines. That's what we're going to talk about today, because there's Hearthstone. We've talked about this before in various different ways. We talked about some really high level stuff over the past couple weeks, lines of play and the depth of mulligans and all that. We want to make sure that we talk about something that we can all relate to, especially this time of the month, which is you look at 6 days away. And the last day of the month is Halloween, so if you got plans on Halloween, you got some costumes. I have a dancing hot dog that I have to dress up as tomorrow. It's tough to fit in the time, and so if you're saying, hey, I want to get to Legend, I want to get to rank 5, I want to get to rank 10, I want to get to rank 15, whatever your goals are, if you're having trouble hitting that, now is the time where that frustration really starts to peak, and it can turn into disappointment at the beginning of the month if you have expectations you don't meet them. And Hearthstone's a game of emotions. there was a really great article. He's my shout out at the end of the week, but I'm spoiling it now. A guy called the id DM about managing emotions during the game and dealing with it when emotions take over. And there's a lot of great players that he referenced, great Hearthstone resources online that talk about this sort of thing. I've talked about it in the past on this show and on other shows as well. And, it depends on what your triggers are, right? But sometimes something's going to piss you off. That'll happen. There can be an emoting opponent. We were talking today in the chat about constant roping, and that drives me crazy because it's just eating up time that I could be using on something else. You could get poor draws. You might find out suddenly on turn one after you mulligan that you're in charge now. And, there could even be external factors in your personal life or any other situation that you're dealing with that might impact your perception of the game state. So, how does that impact what you do during gameplay, and how can we deal with that? I think Bodicus has something to say about this.
Yeah, so kind of what I wanted to go over, in this meta, it's, very heavily saturated with turn 2 Keliseths and Raza on 5, Anduin on 8. And I think it's important to point out that conceding prematurely is actually really bad for your win rate. Even, I know that your win rate you have a really low percentage chance to win some of these games, but if climbing a ladder is important to you, you should really be still taking those 5 to 10% chances to win the games that look impossible, right from the get-go. I've had a couple of my opponents actually concede on turn 2 to the Keliseth Shadow Step, even if like my hand is terrible, like if I had patches and a bone marrow in my hand, there's still a really good chance that I could just get steamrolled. I actually did a couple coachings recently where our opponents had turn 2 Keliseth, and we still won in very convincing fashion. To get really specific, I was actually watching the Geico tournament this last week, and Chalky was playing his Tempo Rogue against an opponent who was playing Rizaka's Priest. And Chalky's opening turn was Firefly turn 1, Keliseth Shadow Step on turn 2, and then he held the Keliseth so that he could play Keliseth, coin the Flame Elemental, Edwin on turn 3. And that opening is just completely absurd. I don't know how anybody is supposed to beat that kind of opening. But, after a few turns and some pretty mediocre draws from Chalky, the Priest player was actually able to come back into it. He actually had a turn where Chalky felt like he had to add a extra Vilespine Slayer to the board to ensure that his opponent was going to die on the next turn, and his opponent drew Power Word Shield into Anduin and was able to stabilize and win. And so, yeah, I just think it's important to not get too discouraged, and recognize when when your opponent does something. Sometimes it's really good for you, sometimes it's not so good for you. But there's a lot of times like you'll have them have their insane start, and you can come back and win those games. And the times that you win the games where you are just a complete dog and not supposed to win just feels so good. And it really kind of when you don't win those games, it's a lot easier to accept that, oh hey, my opponent just had a really good start and there wasn't a whole lot I could do about it. And I think Hat had a little bit more to add to that.
It would be out of character of me to have extra to say after somebody else is done talking about something that they explained thoroughly. But, since we're on a podcast here, it's so what I think I've noticed over my time, like watching a lot of Twitch and playing a lot of Hearthstone and watching, seeing myself grow as a player and watching other people play, the runaway games are easy enough to win. If you get I had a game yesterday where I played Tempo Priest. It was Rizaka's Priest, but I went turn 1 Northshire Cleric, turn 2 Radiant Elemental, turn 3 Tar Creeper, turn 4 Acolyte, turn 5 Cabal Talon Priest, Wild Pyromancer. I won on 30 life against a Tempo Rogue. They never hit me. Right? That game was easy to win. I played my green minions when they turned green, and then I was done. But the hard games are the ones where you're behind, or the really, really close games where you eke out a win where so many decisions would have caused you to lose. So I think that's something you can see a lot of times on stream watching these HCT or DreamHack events of the players that win these close games of, I don't know how they won that. And really, when you watch, I remember watching Rosti playing Freeze Mage. He's one of the best Freeze Mage players I've ever seen. He would just win these games stabilized by these razor thin margins. It's the mark of skill is when you're the freeze mage and you beat the control warrior. When you're the zoo and you beat the freeze mage. When you're the pirate warrior, you get turned to Golaka Crawler and you win anyways. But in order to be in a situation to take those tight wins, you have to also set yourself up to be faced with a crushing defeat that you have to skillfully evade. So if you give up before you try, that's the difference between circling the drain and climbing the ladder. And you always want to be ascending with your skill. You can't learn how to escape these situations if you never practice them.
Totally agree.
I was going to mention that actually as part of what I was going to say. Um, okay, so what I try and do is if they're starting to snowball, right? For example, and you're not out of the game yet, there's no point in conceding. Now, the other part of the reason I was mentioning this is because you, like you were mentioning, you don't want to have super long turns and long games to get into wasting your time, right? And I would be the same way. I like to play more of the aggressive style decks, the mid-range, where they don't last as long. But when I was playing Priest before this expansion, they were super long games, and I get so frustrated and want to just stop playing just because I lost a game and that was so much time wasted. It would tilt me so much. So that being said, if you're worried about the time and you can't wait to, they're starting to snowball, you don't want to quit because you want to actually physically think, okay, what are these outs that I have left in my deck? What are the possibility of me actually getting these? And then start weighing those options to the point of where there is no point of return. And at that point, okay, maybe you can concede. But like they were mentioning, you want to learn how to play those outs. And gosh, if you go to Trollden, how many times you've seen games just turn around that should not have happened? So it can happen, and it's always a good feeling, like Bonix was saying, that when you come from behind and take a game that shouldn't have been yours. So it's a nice balance, and I think what helps me calm down and not get too salty is just logically thinking, okay, what are my outs? What do I do? Because if I actually think about the gameplay and not just blame it on RNG or the deck or whatever it may be, then that's what gets me into this mindset of just being salty. Like if you think logically about the game and what you can learn from it for next time, you don't tilt as much. So that's the part I was going to add. Yeah, I kind of mixed between both of you. So
yeah, and the thing is you might spend an extra couple minutes not conceding a game that you're very likely to lose, but if I've learned anything, and I really wish I could remember who it was that won the recent rat race, the online competitor that actually got to Legend first, he was playing Rizaka's Priest, which is not traditionally a very quick deck, and a lot of the people's strategy in this tournament were to play, the tempo rogues, the really fast decks. The games end very quickly, so that you're not wasting as much time, because obviously, if your games take less time, then you might get to Legend faster. But he chose to play this slower deck and just eked out as many percentage points as he could, and was able to still get that first with, I'm sure, many less games than the people he was racing against. And so, it's just really important to know know that you still have outs, and that in a lot of situations, and it's worth trying to play to them. And that was it.
I know Hat wants to say something else after someone says something. He said so. Anything else you want to add before we're wrapping this one up?
No, it's you pegged me, but I don't have anything in particular to add at this point. I think y'all covered it fairly well.
Alrighty. So that pretty much does it for our show. I'm gonna wrap it up here. We had an email we were gonna save to go over this, but I think it's best to kind of just make next episode all about you guys and what you bring to the table for us. And it could be anything from deck doctors to questions to I don't know what you think the next expansion is going to be. So let us know. We're open. Fill in the gaps. We're calling on our listeners. If you'd like to send it in, you can get it to us by emailing us at coinconcede@gmail.com. We have other ways like our Discord, which is discord.coinconcede.com. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/coinconcede. I did want to thank Stefan L. too for letting us use his cover. You can find our show notes, find his YouTube channel on our show notes, which is on coinconcede.com. Follow us on @coinconcede on Twitter. I think I'm just out of order here. Oh, and if you want to order anything, we have shop.coinconcede.com. I got my mug for this event. I'll be doing Calm Before the Storm, so I'll be counting for lethal constantly. 29 for sure. Alrighty, so anything you guys want to add here? Let's do your shout out. No. Hat, who do we forget? Or who you didn't forget? Who did I forget?
Well, you said you were going to do a shout out earlier, and then you didn't do it yet. So.
Well, I'm saving this for after the other people we should thank.
Okay. Well then, I'd like to shout out IDM, as discussed earlier. This article, I forget the exact title. I had it right here, but it's a really, really good article. We're going to link it in the show notes. It's the IDM on Twitter. The article is about managing your emotional state in Hearthstone, and it's really fantastic, and it applies to any kind of player out there. So check him out at the IDM, THEIDDM on Twitter, and go follow him and check out his page. And there's just a lot of really good content there. He's done interviews with some pretty good Hearthstone personalities. I know he did an interview with Zach O from Vicious Syndicate a little while ago as well. So definitely check out his content. And I was very impressed with the article that I found, and a lot of people that I retweeted it to, it really resonated with the content as well. So I think it's definitely something worth your time.
All right, I threw you a softball. I think it not only went over your. Oh, okay. It went over his hat, so Bauticus is there to catch it. So Bauticus.
So I would like to give a huge shout out to our amazing producers, Reganis Prime, who's over there crushing it in Wild Legend, Calum CV, who I had a sweet coaching session with this month, and also Variotis and Psych Mopco. We really appreciate the support. It means a lot to all of us here at Coin Concede. Couldn't do it without you guys. And then for my shout out for the show, I'd like to shout out Fly That Kite. I got to coach her yesterday, and she kept apologizing even though I was messing up the Discord call, which I thought was funny. But it was we had a fun coaching session.
All right.
What about you, Kenny?
I wanted to shout out to Blister Guy for doing my request and reaching legend while podcasting.
Oh man, legend on podcasting.
By the holy light!
Golden legendary! We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
If only I could do that, man. I'm gonna hit legend in wild though. We will do this.
Do it.
Do it. All right. Let's do our contact information. Oh, let me. Usually I don't do this at the end because we've been starting to get a lot of people in our chats and Twitch. Let me give a quick shout out. We have Andrew is Living, Arctic Chill, Happy ABC, // Mad at Arms, Navilis, good luck, have fun, Sleepy GHS, The Trappist, and Wow.Ben. Thank you for joining us and staying this long. Yeah, and for watching us instead of the World Series. We're tied 3-3, so gosh.
I can tell Kenny has been watching both.
No. But so let's go over our contact information. So Hat, let's start with you.
You can find me on Twitter at RidiculousHat. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/RidiculousHat. I'll be streaming tomorrow, not Monday, and then not Thursday, and then maybe Monday. But I'll be, this Monday, I will be again on vacation, and then next Thursday, I will be at BlizzCon, so I shouldn't plan on streaming. I might try and sneak in a stream some other time there, but there's a decent chance of me being between trips of being quite tired. So we'll see what happens, but feel free to tune in tomorrow as of the time of this recording, which is almost certainly after you hear this episode. But if when you hear this episode, you know what? Wake up in the morning, go to twitch.tv/RidiculousHat, and click that follow button, even though I'm not streaming. Just do it. Just do it right now. And then you can go on Discord and tag me at RidiculousHat, and I will respond as soon as I am able, which should hopefully be pretty soon.
All right. And while I go in between our little shout outs here, we have Cora. If you want to catch her, she's always casting Hearthstone, many different places, but follow her on Twitter at songbird_HS to find out where she's going to be casting and what's going on. So, and Twitch TV, Songbird Cora. And what about you, Bodicus?
You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at BodicusHS. And you could also, it would help me out a lot if you followed me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Bodicus. I do not have a schedule like Hat, but as I have said before, I will work on doing that.
All right. And yeah, let's go for me, I guess. You can follow me on Twitter at KCCO_gamer. And yeah, I think that does this show. That's it.
Ooh.
Woohoo!
All right. I'm getting excited. We're getting so close to BlizzCon. All right. I got to start getting stuff. I know. I thought I would see you in our hometown before I would see you at BlizzCon. Though.
Me too.
Hard to get around with an 8.5-month pregnant wife. So
it'll happen eventually.
We'll go and take a bike ride together after everybody's out and ready. All right, so let's end it here. I'm going to leave it by saying keep calm and chive on. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
Take cold comfort in your victory. You win. I can rest now. You win. For now. Now, your victory proves nothing.
The day is yours.
I choose death. You have triumphed. This time, this hunt is yours.
Wow.
Wow.
Why are we wowing?
Back-to-back home runs, and we're now down 5-3 in the 10th inning, the top of the 10th. We still have up bats. We'll see, and they just escorted someone out of the stadium.
That'll happen.
Kenny's about kept